And there's a million stories like that. The worst one though is when I sold my beloved original Mega Drive collection. The one that, you know, I mowed lawns to get the money for, you know, I saved up my Christmas pocket money, whatever, and I sold them all for £1 each. And there were some gems in there.
Guys, we have with us today the creator of the retro renowned series Weird Video Game Facts and the complete history, as well as the YouTube famous show Kick Scammers, where he breaks down Kickstarter's wildest ideas. He's a legend in the UK retro gaming scene with over 150,000 followers online. I'm happy to welcome Slope's Game Room, aka DJ Slope, aka Dan, to Streamforge Radio.
Thank you so much for that awesome introduction. I get it quite often when people get interviewed on podcasts, but that was one of the better ones, definitely. I'm gonna get you to do all of my videos from now on. You can introduce all of them.
Amazing. I'm so happy to have you today with us. I'm already, you know, excited about just talking about retro gaming. Guys, if you're listening to this, or both backgrounds are filled with retro gaming stuff, right? Not just retro. I see a lot of Switch in the background there.
Yeah, I've got a lot of Switch. Yeah.
But you're a collector.
Yes. I actually got rid of the majority of my collection when I went full time as a YouTuber. You know, just to pay off a few more bills, make sure that I'm secure before I take on this YouTuber life. You never know which way it's going to go, so I wanted to make sure I was completely clear of any debt or anything like that. So I ended up selling the majority of my collection. It was also when we were moving house. So yeah, my collection is actually not as big as most, you know, retro gaming collection people that you've probably spoken to. But yeah, I collect what I want to play or what I'm reviewing for a video. You know, I don't just get anything anymore. The days of going to a boot fair and going, ooh, Mega Drive games, and then buying everything a stall has are long gone. To be fair, those days are long gone anyway. You're not ever going to find anything other than a FIFA these days. But
yeah. And
but if I had the option, I would still only buy games I actually want to play.
Yeah, I think like over time it gets, when you're a collector, it gets to that point where you're like, you have that phase where you collect everything, right? And then you're like, I don't play all these games.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do I even own them, right? So they're sitting there on the shelf. And I'm personally at this stage where I'm like, I need to play these games and then figure out if I'm going to keep them or not. And I was thinking about I was thinking about actually a series. I don't know what platform, but like YouTube, TikTok, something where I go through the process of picking what I keep and what I sell, or what I give out, or, you know, whatever I will do with it. So, but you still collect. I mean, you see like some modern stuff, things that you play.
Yeah,
so
I mean, it's actually behind the camera. I can twist it round here, but there's a lot more Japanese Mega Drive games on the wall.
Nice.
That's the collection that I'm most into, but it's also one of the most hardcore, expensive ones to go for. Like in the space of only a few years, maybe even 1 year to 2 years, that the prices of Japanese Mega Drive games have really shot up. Insane numbers. I mean, we're talking things like the original Streets of Rage, which weirdly I actually still need. I've got the PAL copy of it, but if I wanted to get the Japanese original copy, that was a £20-30 cartridge a year, maybe 2 years ago, and now it's closer to 70. It's like the jump is not double, it's like triple in a lot of cases.
Interesting, because typically like Japanese copies are much cheaper than, you know, North American or PAL even.
Yeah, it's definitely the case with Super Nintendos. Not all of them, obviously. You know, you got your Wild Guns and stuff like that, which still go for silly money. But the popular Super Nintendo games, for my, I mean, I don't look at it all the time, but you know, your Donkey Kongs, your Marios, your Yoshis, stuff like that, your Mario Karts, they all tend to be quite reasonably priced on import. Whereas PAL and American copies, for some reason, go for quite expensive money these days. And they're not rare by any stretch of the imagination. You know, they're very popular games.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not too familiar with I'm more familiar with the Japanese scene when it comes to retro collecting than the UK or the PAL scene. What's the main difference, would you say, between collecting from the UK or for PAL versus NTSC in the US?
So if you're looking at cartridges, I'm not too sure on the Super Nintendo front. It might be the same, but I'm a lot more. I know what I'm talking about a bit more when it comes to Mega Drive. I don't have a lot of UK Mega Drive games. I've got some. Some never came out in other countries, especially in Japan. But unfortunately, they're the 50 hertz versions of the games. A lot of the time, you can put them in and they'll still run 60 hertz if you have the right hardware. Like I've got the Mega SG here.
Right.
That'll a lot of the time put it over to 60 hertz. It's something nicer to look at if you're more interested in that scene. You've got the blue spine, which obviously eventually went over to Japan as well. And in the earlier days, you got the black grid, which is the polar opposite to the Master System white grid, which I know American also adopted. But yeah, we had a different style here.
And I mean, is it more? I have a feeling, and that's probably because I'm in Canada, right? So I have a feeling retro collecting is more popular in North America. And I don't want to start a war here, but is that how you feel being in the UK? Like, do you have a lot of collector friends? Do you know a lot of collector people? Or there's a lot of collector people. I mean, you're almost never going to find a retro game from even PlayStation 2 downwards, if I'm honest. Maybe it's even moving into the PlayStation 3 generation of games just in the wild at like charity shops, you know, that sort of place, or even boot fairs. You might find the odd ones, and if you do find that the generation, it's all going to be PGA games and FIFA games and stuff like that. Right. But yeah, if you want the good games, the old school Master System, Mega Drive, Atari era, and higher, Dreamcast, and all that, you really got to go to conventions to get them. They're hard to find unless you buy them online, and then you don't know what you're getting. When did you start collecting?
I mean, I never really stopped No,
stop, but started. I mean,
no. I mean, I'm saying I don't even know when I started thinking about it, because I had my Amstrad back in the day. That was like my first system. Before I had a Mega Drive, before I knew what a Sega or a Nintendo was. But then when I eventually got my Mega Drive, I realised that I went a couple of years possibly without playing on an Amstrad, and then I got that bug. Oh my god, I need to go back, and I still went back and sometimes picked up games for the older system. And even when I was nearing the end of the Mega Drive's life, I ended up buying a massive collection of Master System games, and that was my first introduction really to proper Master System collecting. Unfortunately, I don't really have these original games anymore, minus one or two, because like I say, I sold a lot of them. As you move up in the generation, sell your old games to get the Dreamcast and blah blah blah. Yeah. But I mean, even back then, you know, I was buying older generation games pretty much as early as I can remember.
I think for me, like the description of or definition of being a collector is, especially in the video game space, is when you stop going to GameStop to sell your games back to GameStop. You know, it's when you're like, I'm gonna keep these games. And I remember for me it was like maybe like 8 to 10 years ago. And I remember like 10 years ago going back and selling my games, and then a couple of years later when I started collecting, me like I shouldn't have went back to GameStop. For sure. Like
there's so many examples of that. Like when I was moving house and we had to sell some stuff to, like, you know, do what we needed to get the deposit or whatever it was the reason. Yep. I remember I sold my beloved Knuckles Chaotix. Now, I mean, I still made a killing on that because I bought it for £15 10 years before or whatever. But I think I sold it for about 150 quid. And then the next week they announced Sonic Mania, and it was like worth hundreds more because it was the buzz. Wow. You know, like, so if I left it 1 week and sold it, I would have made easily double that. You know? But it's just the way it is, you know. And there's a million stories like that. The worst one though is when I sold my beloved original Mega Drive collection, the one that, you know, I mowed lawns to get the money for. You know, I saved up my Christmas pocket money, whatever, and I sold them all for £1 each, and there were some gems in there. Just so I could get extra controllers for my Dreamcast. That's what I spent the money on.
Wow.
Yeah, I've still got those controllers. Dirty as all hell.
Keep the controllers. Don't sell them, okay?
I don't sell anymore. I never sell anymore.
The memories of your old games are in those controllers.
It is painful because I know there were some beautiful games in there. And every so often when I see Sonic and Knuckles, which is one of my all-time favourite games. No, it is my all-time favourite game. Right. It had a cardboard case. And when I see it sometimes at conventions, I do have a quick look because I reinforce mine with a cornflake box on the inside, just to see if I can find my original one. Because I would pay money for my rubbishy old one, you know, because it's going to be around there somewhere. Someone's got that game.
Yeah,
I'll keep an eye out.
yeah. Did like collecting ever got out of hands for you? Like where you would like spend money you don't have, or like just get to a point where it's like it's a bit out of control?
I mean, yeah, or you spend a lot of money on one game and then another game comes out along. A lot with the Nintendo Switch. I buy a lot of those limited edition games there.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like, actually, why did I just buy this? Because I literally have this on Steam for like 99p.
Yeah.
And I've just spent 60 quid on the collector's edition. For what reason? There isn't really a reason. Especially now I've got the Steam Deck.
And
you
Steam
end
Deck is so amazing, man. I got mine a couple months ago now. We'll talk about it some more because I absolutely love this console.
Yeah, it's good fun. I've got this incredible, powerful device in my hand, and most of the games I'm playing on it are like smaller indie-based games. I really do need to drop some proper money on and get like a big God of War type game on there. Right. But at the moment, I'm just enjoying your Binding of Isaacs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's what handheld gaming is for me.
Oh yeah, like these collector boxes typically like you end up like buying it because you love the game and they look awesome, but like I don't know, you never end up necessarily like opening them up. It's just like it's sitting in the box.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's for me, because I do it too. If that's worth it, I guess I could say like.
Yeah, it's painful because I mean I'm looking in my reflection at the games I've got there. So many of them I get. I'm like, oh, let's have a look. Yeah, it looks nice. Back in the box, And what I also do is I buy these. I've got one in front of me. I buy these little collection cases that have a collection in, so I can take the games out of the big boxes that I have to open up about 15 packages just to get to a little cartridge, and I put them in here. So then they never need to get opened. So it makes it even more pointless having them. Yeah,
for sure. No, exactly. I mean, the Steam Deck changes the game, in my opinion, when it comes to, and you're right, when it comes to the relevancy and the uniqueness of the Switch. Like, the Switch is a tremendous console, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But you're right, like, most of us have hundreds of games on Steam.
Oh, yeah.
And most of these games, you can just get a Steam Deck, start it up, and just play on the go.
And it is noticeably more powerful than the Switch as well.
It is. It's bigger. I mean, I played Death Stranding on it. Tremendous. Runs really well. Really well. Elden Ring plays really well, surprisingly well. It's incredible. That being said, you better not be, on the road for 8 hours, because it's not going to be, the battery's going to die for, like, if you play some of these games, which to me, like, that's the only downside of the Steam Deck so far in my mind, is that if you're playing these AAA games, type of games, the battery drains really fast. Maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah, it goes quickly. It goes quickly.
It really goes.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you're playing like, and if you're playing simulation games, I've been having fun with the F1 Manager game.
Well, you're getting a lot more out of your Steam Deck than me. Mine are all smaller indie games.
Right.
Yeah.
But still, simulation games, because they require to process a lot of information, right? Like, it seems like it's, even if graphically it's not like the best looking thing, it still drains a lot of power. But if you're playing games like TMNT Shredder's Revenge, for example, some of these, like, you can play for, like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 hours, right? Which is great.
I played through the majority of, like, Stray, and I actually played through again Defense Grid 2, which is like an old tower defense game. I played through those completely. I've done a lot of that on the plane recently to Florida, which is like a 7-hour journey, 6-7 hour journey. Yeah. But I mean, I've got a game somewhere there. I don't know whereabouts it is. Oh, there it is. Portal Bridge Constructor, which is just like a 2D portal game where it's just like, you build bridges and you make them go through portals. Yep. Towards the end of that game on the Switch, it is like really drops in frame rate. We're talking like 10 frames a second or something ridiculous. It's like you cannot see what's going on, and you're like, this is insane, because this is quite a basic game. I mean, I'm sure it's got something to do with the way that it was, due to the way it was ported on the Switch, but you just know there's not going to be a problem if you play that on a Steam Deck.
It's a tremendous console. I mean, and thank God Nintendo has some real competition when it comes to that space, because I think that competition is always healthy. It's always good. it's good for them too, because Nintendo. I love Nintendo. So do you. I don't want to. I don't mean to speak on your behalf, but looking at the Switch games and
I love Nintendo's first party games more than anything. Like I think they're like unbeatable.
Yeah.
The day that they end up going down the route of Sega, which they're not going to, but if that day ever did come, I think the majority of the world, when they, the competition, your Sony's, your Xbox, your Steam, and all that, it would really open their eyes to just how good Nintendo's first party games are, because they are just out of this world. People that don't play them don't realize how good they are. They're 3D platforming games are just. They're their next level. Zelda is fantastic. But normally when they take a game concepts, they just push it so well, and it's just so fun to work your way through. Like most first party games by Nintendo, I'm a big fan of them.
Like Mario Odyssey is one that to me is underrated in many ways, in my opinion.
It's unreal. It's still probably the best game on the Switch.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's a crazy great game. That being said, I think Nintendo can tend to be a bit lazy when it comes to pushing the technology. Like and they typically have like a good generation, a bad one, good one, bad one, good one, bad one. Like historically, that's what they did with like the Wii and the Wii U, for example, was a lazy.
It shows how good their games are because the technology isn't there. Imagine what Nintendo games would be like if they were running on Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5 hardware.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They make hardware that is like proprietary to them. The Wiimote and the nunchuck for the Wii. The Wii is a tremendous console.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's got some insanely good games. Yeah,
absolutely. And there were so many games for that platform that just a lot of people haven't played most of the best games in the platform, in my opinion, on the platform. But when it comes to like the Switch, and now they're releasing like a Switch OLED, which I bought.
I haven't got the OLED yet, but I don't know. I don't know when I'm going to get around to doing it. Now that I've got my Steam Deck.
Well, that's exactly my point. That's exactly it, right? So I bought the OLED because I didn't have a Steam Deck, and the upgrade is good, but is it the necessity to get the OLED? Absolutely not.
This is Nintendo's way of doing it, isn't it? I mean, it's an interesting time for them because whenever you watch one of their directs, you take yourself back 4 years or so, you would get your Wii or your Wii U section, and then you would get your 3DS and DS section. Yeah. But now it's just one, and all of their eggs are in one basket. The fact that you get to play a Pokemon game, for instance, I'm not into that, but I know it's an absurdly popular franchise. Getting to play that on a proper console and as a handheld, that's like that's just that sentence alone. You imagine saying that 10 years ago. It's like guaranteed printing money, and that's what they're able to do now.
Absolutely.
So
that idea that to play handheld games on a console comes from like way back. Remember when they did the Game Boy Player for the GameCube?
Oh yeah, sure.
Right?
Yeah, they had the Super Game Boy for the Super Nintendo.
Exactly, right? So they've had that idea for the longest time. It just they didn't have the technology, I guess, or the device that could do it all. So yeah, don't get me wrong, Switch, amazing console, one of the best concept in the gaming space since forever, really, right?
Yeah, sure.
But I think having a Steam Deck as an alternative, and a very strong one, because there's a lot of like third-party consoles trying to just make something work there, which is great to have also these types of competitors. But as Steam, one of the biggest companies in the gaming space, becoming a competitor in that space, it's just, I hope it pushes Nintendo to go beyond for the Switch 2 or the Switch HD or the Switch 4K or whatever.
Yeah, whatever the next one is.
Yeah, because I don't think it's at this point it's smart, and that's more like the business person in me talking, to just have the same type of upgrade that they've released with like the OLED one.
Yeah, I don't see them bringing something out that's going to beat the Steam Deck, and that's going to be the painful thing. Maybe let's say we're 2 years away from Steam 2. From the Switch 2.
Yeah.
in 2 years' time, the Steam Deck would have been out for about nearly 3 years, and then they're going to release a system which is still not as powerful as the Steam Deck. And I just see that being the case because we know what Nintendo are like. Nintendo are probably going to do that thing. And again, they're just going to be relying on their games rather than their hardware, which when really what we really want to see is them doing that together, you know? So yeah, I mean, I'd much prefer it to be, you know, powerful hardware and great games rather than not just one, not the other.
But you mentioned earlier,
their online capability is just blows my mind how bad it is, though. I mean, the Dreamcast in some aspects did it better. You know, that
Dreamcast was a great console.
It was really, really good. I love my Dreamcast. I'm so upset when Sega went under. It was painful memories there. But like, the Dreamcast was out of this world, of this world. Playing online, you know, just little things, whether it be like Choo Choo Rocket or even, you know, later games where it actually got into like Quake and like actually being out, you know, you have to like plan your shots ahead of time because of the slow internet connection. But I was able to speak to people on some of those games. You know, Planet Ring, I could actually talk to people.
You still can't on the Switch.
not without an incredible workaround with your phone and
like
plugging
your phone.
it in.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
So,
And they even had like, you could have like the memory packs, right? Going in the controller had a screen on it, and you could see like animation there, which is something when I first saw the PS4 controller, you know, with the touchpad. When I first saw like the announcement of that controller, I was like, that's a screen. It has to be a screen. These little dots have to be like LEDs or something, right? They were not. And then when they announced the PS5, I was like, that's it. Now they're going to use that as a screen and a touchpad. Still just a big ass touchpad. Okay.
Yeah.
But like there were so many things that the Dreamcast did, small things, like for example, like the screen on the controller, but just like very imaginative. And they had 2 slots on the controller as well, which was pretty great as at the time. You could have a rumble pack and a memory pack, right?
You could have them all lined up to say one word if you had 4 of them next to each other.
Right.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that would say slop instead of slope.
But I mean, you mentioned it earlier, like Nintendo releases tremendous first-party games, right? I agree with you, and I think most people agree with you, and I think Nintendo agrees with you as well. And that's maybe part of the problem, is what I think it may happen is that they're going to tell each other, or they're bored, or they're, you know, shareholders, whatever, we'll be good, we'll be fine, we're releasing, you know, the next Zelda, we're releasing the next Mario, we'll be fine no matter what we release, right? And then I think the danger here, and I say this because I care for Nintendo, the danger is that they could become lazy and just be like, we'll be fine with our first party games, release a subpar product, right?
Yeah.
And then the GameCube situation happens again, or the Wii U situation happens again, right? They're gonna make the Switch U, right? Which is gonna be like underwhelming, and then their sales are going to go down, and they'll be like, oh wait, we got to make it better now that our sales are going to go down. Our first party games are not keeping us at the same level, you know, across generations. We need to do more in terms of hardware. So I hope they don't make the same mistakes they've done in the past, and I do hope as well that the Steam Deck helps them make better decisions hardware-wise.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, I do think they're going to go down the route, like I say, of releasing a system which isn't as powerful as a Steam Deck, and they'll rely on the fact that they've got their first-party games, and in true Nintendo fashion, they have their gimmicks. You know, like technically, the Switch was a bit gimmicky. You know, I mean, it was the perfect continuation from the Wii U, what the Wii U wanted to be, now you've got the Steam Deck, like you say. The Steam Deck is good competition. So where no longer is Nintendo doing it the best, because they're not. You know, the Steam Deck's doing it better when it comes down to being able to play on your hand and you put that on your telly. So you have to see what their next thing is they're going to do. They're going to come out with something, and who knows? I as much as I love my Switch, and obviously I've got like about 150 odd games there. I'm a big fan of the Switch. I freaking hate those nunchucks. They are terrible.
I've never used them.
They are like abysmally bad. Like the Wii nunchucks, like the standard Wii controller, is better.
Yeah.
It feels nicer in your hand.
I agree.
It actually works nicer on your screen as well. You don't get drift. It's just like that I can't believe how bad the nunchucks are. For such an awesome system. In fact, my Switch is downstairs. I ended up buying third-party controllers for my Switch because they just felt nicer.
Let's not forget, they made the decision not to... It's other technology, right? Because remember with the Wii, you had that bar you had to put at the top or the bottom of your TV, right? Mm-hmm. So they were like infrared lights or something. The Switch doesn't have that.
No, it doesn't.
So
it doesn't.
It doesn't. So in a way, it's another technology. So but I think it's smart to not have that infrared bar because you want, their selling points, like you can bring it anywhere, and you bring the little deck and you can just sit it there, like put it there and like plug it in, and it's good to go. You don't need to like add a bar to your TV, right?
Yeah.
But maybe it's detrimental to the technology. But it's the Steam Deck. It's also not fair, to be honest, because they're not releasing games. That's the thing. Like Nintendo releases their own games. Like Steam, I mean, they released Alex, which I haven't played yet. I need to play that game.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Tremendous. Yeah, but they don't really release any games anymore.
And there's no reason why they shouldn't. They've got an incredible amount of money behind them. They own Steam at the end of the day, and
exactly.
There's they make insanely good games. That's been proven in the past. Like some of the world's greatest games. Portal 2 is genuinely one of the world's greatest games. Obviously Half-Life 2 and your Left 4 Dead games and whatever else, Team Fortress and all these other things they do. So they know what they're doing. They just don't make them.
Exactly. Well,
it's a bit insane. Look at Microsoft. They love buying studios but not releasing games. Like, come on, make some games.
That's true. Yeah, no, exactly. So they're making a tremendous amount of money. They're just being like, all right, let's take that portion of our money that we make and we allocate it to making the best possible our hardware.
They should do.
Exactly, but Nintendo doesn't. They need to make it work with their first party games because they will never release a console without thinking like, how is that going to affect our next Mario game, or how is that going to affect our next Zelda game?
Mm-hmm.
Can you use it for like as a nunchuck to like play with like the Link's sword or something? I don't, it must be part of the whole process, but maybe it's detrimental to the R&D process and development of the console. Who knows? I'm just speculating here. We're just speculating here, but both Switch / Nintendo lovers just wishing the best for the next iteration of the Switch.
Yeah, we went on a massive tyrant there. I wasn't expecting it to turn into the Switch versus Steam Deck argument, but no, I mean, it's cool. It's cool. It's what I'm passionate about at the end of the day, so it's all good.
Absolutely. And I mean, I want to talk about two indie games specifically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dome Keeper.
Sure.
And Donut Dodo.
Yeah. I've been putting some time into those games. Donut Dodo. I love old school arcade games. So I go to a lot of conventions here in the UK where they get a lot of the old arcade cabinets out. Your Pac-Mans, Donkey Kongs, Popeye, all that sort of stuff. All that good classic. Yep. Like 4 or 5 stages on loop. It's getting faster. It's getting that. And I can spend so long on that. Donut Dodo is one of those games. It's a mix between Burger Time, which is possibly my all-time favourite arcade game up there. As in classic arcade games, from that era. So it's a bit of a mix between that and Donkey Kong. There's not really much to say. You just run around collecting donuts, dodging bad guys that walk along their levels, and that's it. But my God, is it addictive. Now I'm going to try and do it without getting touched. Now I'm going to try and do it in order, and then you just keep going over and over and over. And it's got one of those quick restart buttons. So like, try again, and you just don't stop. And before you know it, you've just pumped stupid amount of hours in. And again, this is what I'm playing on my Steam Deck. The other game you mentioned there, I actually went to a convention at the weekend where I did like a meet and greet and a quiz thing there with Kim Justice, very good channel. And they had a game on display in the indie zone called Dome Keeper. In fact, I'm writing a review of it right now. Comes out, I believe, on Tuesday. So that'd be
soon.
Beginning of the month.
It'll be out by the time this release. No. Tuesday. I mean, it releases tomorrow.
Oh, okay. There we go then.
So today, guys. Today.
It's Monday
now.
It's a ridiculously addictive game. you're a guy on a 2D plane, you go underground, digging down, you get your gold, you take it back up to your dome, and then you just start doing things where you upgrade your dome to make it more powerful, you upgrade your little man to make him faster, and then you just have waves of bad guys trying to smash into your dome. It's like such a simple concept, but it's just overly addictive. And it's one of those things. I was just doing a quick review of it earlier, and whilst I was listening to a podcast on something that I'm covering for a future complete history video, I think I sunk like 4 hours into it. Just I was like, I really got to get on with my work. Yeah, absolute time killers. But yeah,
Great.
Good fun.
We'll definitely check it out. Now, you have so many popular YouTube series that you've created over the years. I mean, I'll mention them. And now I want to play a game with you for our listeners and secretly for myself. I like to do this to include myself in the process. And I need your help to build the next great series, because you seem to have a special formula, or at least a process that goes into your mind when you think about these series. So, weird video game facts.
Okay.
Kick scammers, right?
Yeah,
the history of the games.
Yeah, the
complete history. Unboxing series. Like, how do you come up with all these ideas? And like, it's one thing to say, like, okay, like I'll go on Kickstarter and then find these weird or these.
I think it all just comes formulaic. I always, without sounding big-headed, like in my early days, even before I had a YouTube channel, I was like, if I'm going to make videos on a particular topic, I want to try and make them the best video they can possibly be. The video where, if you watch a video based on a franchise that I cover, whether it be like Desert Strike, Golden Axe, I'm looking on my shelf here, Sonic games, whatever it may be, I want to try and make the best possible video I can possibly ever do, to the point where there's no point going anywhere else. You know what I mean? I'm going to try and give you all of the information you need. I started that with really the Complete History series. And the first one I ever did was Streets of Rage, which is the third video I ever actually made. I think it's like 2015, something like that. And I got a really, really good positive response, which told me that what I was aiming to do, it was... people were seeing what I was able to do. They understood, and it just drove me to do more and more. And at the same time, when you absorb yourself into one franchise, and it gets harder and harder. Right now, I'm working on Boulder Dash: The Complete History. Yeah. And every single day, I'm just so focused on Boulder Dash. I wake up and I'm thinking about Boulder Dash. I'm through the day playing, or I'm researching. I'm looking at old magazines about it, whatever it may be. By the end, you don't want to look at one more thing to do with Boulder Dash. Your mind is just mush. So then you just have to start doing something else to try and reset yourself. And that's where things like the Kick Scammer series came into play. So I would... it's what I call my trash content, my junk food content. We all like a bit of drama. We all like to, what's going on here, And I make that because it's just easy to absorb junk food type content that resets my mind. People like watching it. It's actually more popular than the Complete History series by this point.
Do you think there's a lot of scammers on Kickstarter?
Oh, and some. Some. It's just like, it's another platform where you can make money, and anywhere where that thing can happen, scammers come out of the woodwork. Definitely. It's crazy because a lot of the time what happens is I'll have a list of 3 or 4 Kickstarters that are based on a particular topic. Like, for instance, I'm looking at one at the moment to do with celebrities that have had issues with, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, all those sort of places. Yep. And then all you have to do is just think to yourself, think of a popular one. You search for it on there, and before you know it, you found another scam. They're like everywhere.
How do you know it's a scam?
It depends. Sometimes, I really only like to cover the stories once they're done and dusted. I don't like to cover them midway through the scamming process, if you want to call it that. Because one, it might not be a scam. 2, and more importantly, it could end up coming out, or different things can change, and all of a sudden my video is no longer relevant. And if I'm trying to make content that is like the all-time best video on that particular subject, there's no point doing a video where this is happening right now and then a week later it's out of date. That's never really been what I've been about. So a lot of the time when it's done and dusted, by that point you can see that they've already scammed people.
True.
Or you know, you see a news article about someone that's spent the money on hookers or whatever else, which is generally something that happens in one of the earlier videos. Yeah, spent the money they earned on going to get drunk and spending it and prostitutes and stuff. And you hear something like that, that's insane. And then you go searching and you discover all these little hidden things. And it all comes. Yeah, it's technically. Sorry, go ahead.
No. But I mean, no. Please finish.
I was going to say, technically, it's actually easier to make a kick scammer video when you know what you're talking about compared to a complete history, because you know, because people, like I say, people love drama. There's so many news articles based on these scams and stuff like that, and you know where you're looking. Yeah. But and they're easier to make. Complete histories are just so much research goes into them compared.
Sounds like a lot of time just, you know, getting to the bottom of these projects and these games and these, you know,
yeah. There we go. I don't know if that answered your question. I don't even know. I just started talking then, and it went off.
No, absolutely. No, it's great. So I think that's a shame because, like, Kickstarter, there's a lot of great projects in there. I personally backed a lot of great projects, not just in the video game space, but like in any, you know, water bottles and stuff like that I still use today, and the company has grown and some great projects have come out of this. But it seems that there's a lot of other projects that tarnish the, you know, the reputation of Kickstarters or other Kickstarter projects, right? So my experience so far has been to, like, a lot of delays, right? Like, obviously, you know, that happens a lot, right? They say, like, oh, we're gonna ship you the thing in like 2 months, and it takes 2 years, right? And
I don't see that as a scam, really. Right. I think that's just part of the process, you know. Like, at the end of the day, even if a game comes out and it's terrible, and that's happened before. One of my earlier things I backed, I remember, was a game called Wolf. Which was kind of a you know, Alice Madness spiritual successor in a sense. I played it and completed it in about half an hour. Like, this game is really basic, but I got to go along the journey with them and then explain about how it went wrong and all this sort of stuff. And the fact that I spent £15 to get all of this, and then the game at the end, I was like, this isn't a bad thing. This is, like, genuinely quite an interesting development history to go. I mean, I find that sort of stuff interesting anyway.
No, it is very interesting. But for me, like, the businessman in me thinks about the fact that you're basically backing and investing in, a lot of the times, an idea and 100%. Not a company, 100%. Because, like, it's just maybe one person, a couple of people, a group of people, but they may have never done anything together as a company. They may have never released. So they're like, hey guys, here's our idea, right? And an idea can, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there is a point to that though. With Kickstarter, technically you need to be past the idea phase. With Kickstarter, you need to be showing a proof of concept. Whereas Indiegogo is a lot more. Here's our idea. They technically should, if everything's legit and going the right way, Indiegogo should have a section underneath where it says this is in the idea phase, and you know what you're backing when it comes to that. It is literally an idea. This may or may not come out, but with Kickstarter, it's supposed to be you're actually at a phase. You know, if you're buying something technology based, like, okay, we've got an idea for a controller, that wouldn't fly on Kickstarter. It would fly on Indiegogo, not on Kickstarter. With Kickstarter, you actually need to say, here's my controller. We now need to mass produce it.
Absolutely.
Or further develop it.
No, of course. But my point is, they may have built that controller physically, right? And shown the controller, but they've never mass produced a controller.
Oh, absolutely.
Before,
and that's the thing that kills them for the most part.
Yeah, and they've never had $1 million in their bank account, you know, from investment. Like, right? So, like, these guys are like, oh shit, we just, you know, we blew up. We got $1 million, $500,000. Let's go celebrate. And then you know.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Going back to, like, your series and what you've been looking into, like, some of these guys spending that money for like on themselves and be like, we're out of money, guys. Like, and I'm guessing ultimately, like, these guys may not have wanted to be scammers, but ended up being like scamming
Yeah,
people
yeah,
because
yeah.
they're using the money in the wrong way.
And I know, I mean, technically the series is called Kick Scammers, so the burden does lie on me. And for the most part, a lot of these times they're not scammers. It's just the story behind the whole concept is interesting, especially when it comes to technology. Like you say, you're a guy that earns a typical wage, but then all of a sudden you're a millionaire within the space of a month. You've got all this money, and even if by this point you look at your bank and you're like, wow, there's a lot of digits in there. If you have the best intentions, you can still be someone that, okay, we're going to make this product even better. And it's such a dangerous thought process because you end up spending that money on making the product a bit better. And that figure will just go down, 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 down. It's not all people that are just going running around.
That's a lack of experience. Like, again,
exactly.
I've been in business for 10 years, right? That's a lack of... myself as an entrepreneur 10 years ago would have thought possibly just that, right? Let's make it better. But now it'd be like, let's make it. Let's make what we've said we would make, and let's allocate the budget properly, and let's, but like that comes with experience. So my point is not so much as like you're selling an idea. It's more like you don't necessarily have the experience to produce what you're selling, right? What you're asking people to invest in, and that can come with a lot of like many pitfalls along the way, many bumps along the road, right? So I think one of
the more interesting videos on that is, it's not really a scam, but I did one about the Coolest Cooler, which at one point was the most successful or the second most successful Kickstarter project ever, and it was literally a guy that made a cooler that had a radio on it, it had a drinks blender mixed into it, all these extra gadgets. And that's an interesting story, not because he purposely decided, wow, I'm going to be a millionaire out of this. It was more the fact that like he didn't know how to handle the money after he got it, and it just blew up out of proportion. He goes, wow, we don't need to make 10,000 now we need to make thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands, and he just didn't know how to look after it. And I think that's a good example.
Yeah, absolutely. And you need connections in business as well. Like, you can't just be like, all right, I got $1 million. Now I got to find a manufacturer, producer, distributor, this and that. Like, you ideally, someone, at least who knows someone that can do it for you, right? You want to start calling people, because if you don't work with someone that can vouch for your manufacturer, your distributor, or something like that, they can make it wrong. And if they mess up, then you're responsible for it, right? So that may be what would happen some of the times, where it's like, I have the best intentions possible, but I'm partnering with people I've never partnered with before, and they messed up. What do I do now, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you gave a kid enough money to go and make a lemonade stand, but then they spent all the money on lemons and nothing else, you wouldn't have a go at the kid. You wouldn't call them a scammer. They just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they're not.
And it's the same a lot of the time on there. You give all these people loads of money or even just the right amount of money to make this comic book or make this movie or whatever it is they're making, and they just don't have the experience to know how to spend that money efficiently.
That's why I personally look at the background of the people asking for investors.
Oh, for sure.
To buy their product in advance, right? But it's a great platform.
Thankfully, a lot of people do come to me and they say, I've looked into this, and I've got a whole a section on my Discord as well of people giving advice to each other in regards to Kickstarters. And like you, I actually do like following decent projects. Like I've got a few games that I'm backing right now, and at that EGX show that I went to, a game I backed maybe 2 years ago or something was being shown in its near final form. And I was like, this is incredible to be able to see this game get to this point, and the fact that all I've done is drop to tenner down or whatever it may be to help it along this way. That's fantastic. I've got loads of board games downstairs, loads, probably about 5 or 6 that have come from Kickstarter, and you never see them on the shelf.
More than most.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. I also follow a lot of projects for $1 just to see how badly they're going to, because when I can see it, there's a lot of copyright infringement in this, there's whatever it may be. The ones that I see a lot of the red flags, I'll drop $1 just so I can keep up to date with what's going on. So if you look through all the things I've backed, I would say only a third of it, or maybe even a quarter of it, is projects that actually I want to succeed.
Yeah.
It's more me following them because I want to see how they fail. Really,
it's research.
And that is 100% why. I do it because I can see one day that's going to fail. I need to keep an eye on this. Yeah.
Now going back to the game I want to play, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Let's say I mentioned an idea I had initially, like at the start of the episode, where I'm like, I got a bunch of physical games, a bunch of digital games as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm talking hundreds of thousands. I want to go through them, but maybe I want to bring people along. So let's say that's your case, right? That's your idea, or someone else's idea at home. How would you suggest that person produce that type of content or that series moving forward? Like, how would you be your thought process to be
So
like,
how would I make
that?
How would I make that type of video?
Yeah.
So make sure I get this right. So the video is about me finding games that other people would want to play.
Yeah. So like, say you have a collection. I'm using myself as an example. I have a collection. I want to go through my collection and share my process of like deciding if I want to keep or sell a game that I have in my collection, right? And I want to create content with it, or while I'm doing this.
Okay.
How would you, if it was you, how would you go about making it a series, or at least producing the first episode?
I mean, from my experience, obviously, you do videos based on things that you are interested in. So if you're interested in the whole buying and selling of games, or buying the right type of game for yourself, I mean, you're already on that path of knowing what you need to do. I mean, it's hard to explain because it sounds a lot more vloggy in my mind. Documenting the process of buying the right types of games and then being able to sell them at a higher rate if they're the type of games that you would play.
It's not so much that idea of buying and reselling. It's more going through the collection and then deciding, basically clearing up the shelves as you did. So like it's not so much buying and reselling. It's more like, am I keeping this game or am I keeping it on the shelf? Some of these games I've played, some of these games I've not played. It's more to get the ideas, to get like in your mind a little bit, understand, because you've produced so many series, so many successful series.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
You have a very unique video editing style as well, right? So like, this whole like, so you've produced a lot of series, and understand how you create those so
if I was going to do this, this would be a lot more on I'm explaining how I would do it on a completely literal sense. So I would look at my collection. Say I want to sell my entire Mega Drive collection. I would just pick one game at a time, whatever it may be. I'm trying to get something a little bit exciting off the shelf. I would get a game off the shelf, and then I would actually show it off with some beautiful close-up shots, all that degree. And then I would actually grade the game, whether it be the amount I'm playing the game, the condition of the game, the inside of the game, all that sort of stuff. How good is it? Maybe because it's me, I would actually look down the history process of it. So I'd be looking at old magazines. I would be looking at what people are thinking about the game nowadays compared to what they did back then, because reviews change massively. And then I would go down the process that the final thing is how much it's worth, whether I did want to sell it or not. How much I bought it for, and how much it's worth nowadays if I was going to sell it. I mean, that's how I would do it. And once you get down that formula and cutting that into the right amount of segments, into the point where you're showing off the game, your opinion on the game, would you keep it, would you sell it, you already have a video in its perfect set chunks, and then you can just redo that for all of your games. I don't know if that answers your question.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's just me off the top of my head thinking about how I would start a new series, but yeah.
No, exactly, which is exactly what I'm trying to, because a lot of people at home and listening right now are creators or people that want to start creating content, and oftentimes we have so much ambition, and we make it overcomplicated, or we I need that type of like hardware to make it nicer or this or that, you know, a little bit like you said with the Kickstarter, like, you know, how can I make it better without even producing anything in the first place, right? So that's a bit sometimes what comes into mind with like with content creators or people wanting to create content for the first time, and sharing some of that experience that you have in, you know, simplifying, I guess, the process of creating that first video, which is, you know, the first thing you need to do, create one and then go, as you said, like repeat. You know.
Get over it. Get that first video out. Honestly, once you've got that first video out, it's easy from there on out. It's the first one. I spent so long getting that first video of mine ready. I did a video. It's not the first video on my channel anymore. I ended up having to delete it because it had a BBC clip in it, which I had to remove. I didn't know what I was doing. It was the first video I ever did, you know. But the amount of time I re-recorded or rewrote parts of the script. Originally, I was going to be more of a character. I was going to have like a Beetlejuice voice. I was going to be animated. Like, you know, you go for all these different ideas and processes on getting to that first stage. But when you've got it in your head and you know what you're doing, don't procrastinate. Just get it done. Obviously, do it to the best of your ability, but know that in a year's time, you're going to look back and look at it cringily anyway, because because once you've got that first one out, like you say, it's all uphill from there. You can just keep going and going and going and going. It's that first one. That first one is hard.
Yeah, like buying gear, buying hardware.
You don't have to worry about too much.
Well,
of that.
you don't have to worry about it, and second, you can do it any time if you want. And you know, the hardware is going to get better over the years on its own. If you're not doing it, you're not going to get better, right?
I hope my sister's listening, because she loves ringing me up and saying, "Oh, I'm going to do this." I'm looking at the branding of what type of t-shirts I would do and the color scheme of my logo, and I've just got myself a new Yeti mic and all this stuff. She's not done one video yet. We've been talking about this for years, and it was no different to me. I kept saying I wanted to start a YouTube channel years before I eventually did, but it's like, don't worry about that. There's sunlight for your lighting. You know, stand next to a window. Everyone's got a mobile phone, and in most cases, mobile phones record better than DSLRs now. Anyway, you know, I've seen great made videos. People using. I remember I saw one video that looked really good. I was like, are they using Microsoft PowerPoint to go through their slides? And they were, because they made everything come in all nicely. I was like, wow, they're genuinely using Microsoft PowerPoint.
Here's an exercise for people listening. Go to your favorite YouTuber and check out their first videos and look at the content there. It's probably very bad relative to what they do today, and everybody starts somewhere, and that hardware is only a reason. It's only you adding, like, not wanting to move forward or being anxious about moving forward with it, and adding like reasons for not moving forward in a sense, right? Like excuses, if you will, I think, because that's what I did for the longest time, you know. And then I started, and then I experienced the same thing that you mentioned. You know, one after the other, getting better and better and better. I still upgraded my hardware once in a while, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's not what made my content good or bad. You know, it was me doing it and accepting the fact that I would suck initially, at least relative to where I'd be years later if I kept on doing it.
It's such a confidence boost as well. It really is. It really, I think, for better or worse, it builds you as a person. You know, you get that boost big time. In fact, I'm working, I say, on a Boulder Dash video, and I'm talking about ports of Boulder Dash, and one of the big ports of Boulder Dash, well, not ports, but one of the rip-offs, I suppose, actually, better word, of Boulder Dash was a game called Repton. And there's a bit of discrepancy on whether the game was a rip-off or it's a game that just was very, very similar when it came out. And I was looking up old school reviews of the game, and sure enough, one of the people that popped up was Lazy Game Reviews, one of my all-time favourite channels, one of the influences for me, actually. And it was one of his really old videos, crazy grainy, there was no lighting, but it was humbling to actually see, you know, him go from the insane quality that he is nowadays from that, and it's still enjoyable to watch. So just, get over it, guys. Get over it. Get that first video up.
Yeah, absolutely. And even for like editing, right? Like editing, you need to do it to get better at it. It's just like anything else, you know, you got to get your hands dirty. Now, you have, like I said, a very unique editing style. Do you edit yourself?
Yeah. On occasion, I think I've got nearly 600 videos. I think I've had 4 videos edited for me, maybe 5 videos edited for me in that time. Right. And that's normally when I'm like, I'm going on holiday. Damn, because I gave myself targets that I didn't need to follow. I think it's probably my salesy background that I've had before when I used to have real jobs. I would say I need a video out every weekend, and it was getting to the point where I'm not going to get this video out. I'm going on holiday. Can you help me finish it, or can you edit this video, whatever it may be? That's normally when those sort of things happen. But I edit my own videos.
And how do you get the inspiration for your editing style?
Originally, it was me being naughty. So I used to have a job where I was basically used to be on the phone all day in one of my old jobs, and I'd be on the phone like several hours a day, and it was something that I could do robotically, just ring, waiting for someone to answer, ring. And whilst I was doing it, I was normally researching stuff on the computer, and even though I didn't have editing software on my work computer, I did have GIMP, which is a knockoff Photoshop, and I would actually read through my script, and as I read through it, I would find, okay, that would be interesting if I had my face pop in at this point, or it'd be interesting if I had the game cover pop in at this point. Maybe we can zoom in on a particular part, and I would just be cutting out images all day long, and I would number them 1, 2 as I get through the script, so I know when the next one's coming in. And then when I get home, I download all of the files and I throw them in there, and that in a sense created a unique editing style, very cut and paste. Like it was literally made that way, as if I was literally cutting out pieces of images and putting them into the video, and that's how it started. I was able to edit so quickly when I got home because I had so much of the content already created, and that's how it came to be, basically. And that's how my style evolved. I do a lot less of that now. I feel like I've really grown as an editor, but yeah, that's how I started off.
That's amazing. And then just grew from there by doing it, right?
Yeah, by literally doing that. Yeah. I would come home, there'd be 103 images to download in a folder labeled literally 1 to 103, and then I'd be like 1, and I'd put them in as I'm going over the voice. It got to the point, so what I do is it's my lunch break, I'm going to go down to Sainsbury's, like my local shop, for my lunch, and I have my laptop in the car, and I had a rubbish old microphone that was the best I could afford for the time, and I'd be like doing my script in the car whilst eating my, tuna and sweet corn sandwich, reading the script, and then when I get home I can just clean up the audio, I have all the pictures sorted, and then I can try and make the video. And that's how I was able to get videos out weekly or fortnightly, I think it was originally, whilst I had a 9 to 5. It was just something I was obsessed with. I really I was so suckered into the YouTube editing, researching bug. I just found the whole thing so fascinating. Couldn't stop.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you also have a weekly newsletter now.
I have a newsletter. I need to really update it. I need to get back into the swing of that. But yeah, I do have a newsletter. I haven't sent one out in a while, but please sign up. I'll make sure I start doing that thing. What I might try and do is do it as a monthly roundup of the content that month. I think that's probably going to be the better way to do that.
Yeah. Amazing. We have a segment that we like to do here called Explain This Post. Right. And we go through your different platforms. In your case, or in this case right now, it's Twitter.
Sure.
And we look at some of the tweets, and we want you to go a bit deeper and explain what the post was about. So we got one here from February 6th, 2022.
Okay.
And it says, can't even buy a loaf of bread without being stopped these days. And you met Vic Reeves.
Oh, right. That was a joke. I know he lives near me.
Yeah,
I know he lives near me. And I'd seen him about, like, at the local cinema and stuff like that. And I think it was someone said to me, he looked like my dad. And I thought I'd put it up. It was just a silly thing, really. That's all it is. Yeah. You're just you're building that interaction. I don't do it for that reason. It's second nature by this stage, just joining in with conversations. Yeah. It's just a silly thing. That's all that was. Yeah, I forgot about that, though, yeah.
So we got another one from January 3rd, 2022, where you say, say hello to 2002 DJ Slope, and we got you there with the green hair. You're at an event.
Green hair, wow.
With a yeah. Do you remember that tweet?
Oh, that was my ex-girlfriend. So we're talking about 20 years ago. So 2002, yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. We was cleaning out. I was just cleaning out my attic, and I found a load of old pictures. I think that was at the first time I ever saw Linkin Park live before they released their Meteora album, and I think they just were playing things like Faint for the first time and stuff like that. It was just me in my teenage years wearing my unofficial bootleg Reanimation t-shirt, going to see Linkin Park. Probably had a chain connected to my wallet, all those old school traits. Still got Tony Hawk's Paused at Home. Infinity Grind.
Amazing. So we got also audience questions.
Cool.
A couple,
really?
Actually. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Actually. And the first
As in,
one
people are not listening to this live, are they? This is like from...
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
What was your weirdest or scariest fan interaction ever?
Scariest? I don't know about scariest. I don't think I've ever had scariest interaction. I've had like, I can't think of anything that's scary interaction wise, if I'm honest, ever.
Any weird ones?
I don't know. I've never had weird ones. I've had like really cool ones, and I always show this off. I did a complete history based on Alien Soldier. It's one of those games that you know's never going to do big numbers, but it's those ones where they're going to connect to certain individuals, and they're the people that are going to come up to you. Thank you for doing that video, even though it wasn't popular. It was almost like it's made for them. And one guy came over to me and goes, "Do you know who that is?" And I was like, "Is that the guy from the main character from Alien Soldier?" And he says, "You can have it. He made it for me as a gift." And it's literally right next to me. I've got some insane things that that Sega have sent me and stuff like that. But like that's got to be one of the greatest things I've ever been given. Like that, I can't think of anything weird or scary. I've just had really cool things happen.
Just wholesome. That's great.
Yeah, I'll show you one other thing I've got here actually. Dot decor. If anyone's on, this is like one of the earliest things I ever got through the post from someone. It's this guy who does not animation artwork, and he done it off the back of my Metal Slug video. He created this incredible artwork. They're like little dots, like hole punch dots, and he remade the main character.
Yeah, amazing.
And it's stuff like that for me is like, how could you not love doing this job when things like that happen?
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to put that back later, but yeah, it's really cool stuff.
So we're changing the question to what was your most wholesome fan interaction?
Yeah, we're doing that because I generally can't think of anything weird. I suppose I've had people ask me to sign Mega Drive games, and I almost like I don't refuse to do it, but I'm like, really? You want me to deface your Mega Drive games? I can't do that. Like I had someone ask me to sign a Streets of Rage 2 game, and like it's an expensive game now, but like Mario's and stuff like that, it's not a rare game by any stretch of the imagination. It sold very well, but I still feel like, really, I'm going to deface this? I'm going to ruin its value by signing it? But I mean, they wanted me to, and I did. That was
as long as it's not like a Musha or something like this, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I suppose some of the coolest things is weird for me, because I can't believe it's real, is I get not in-person interactions, but I do get emails from time to time. Here's a good one. I got an email from the Oliver twins, the creators of Dizzy, my first ever true love, the Dizzy for games, before Sonic and all that sort of stuff. Their dad sent me an email thanking me for making that video. That was a weird one. That was really weird, but wow, how humbling is that? How cool is that?
Yeah.
That I actually the dad felt like he needed to thank me for doing a retrospective on his son.
That's amazing.
That was a weird one, but I'll never forget that. That's something that I've made it when stuff like that happens.
Going back to my point about content creators or aspiring content creators listening to this, there's one where it's The next question is, what's the best piece of advice you can give to an aspiring online creator?
Like we said earlier, I think that's where it's at. I mean, we've all got our own ideas of what we would want to do. I think it's the same way when you start a band. When you start a band, you take the best music of the things that you're interested in. I'm going to take a bit of this. I'm going to take a bit of this. I'm going to take a bit of this. I'm going to make my own sound. And I think it's the same with YouTube. I took inspiration from people like Larry Bundy and Lazy Game Reviews and a few other people as well, Gaming Story and a few other people. And I was like, I want to create my own thing. And I'm so glad I did, because this is the best job, if you want to call it like that. I don't see it as a job, but it's like the best job I've ever had in my life. I wake up looking forward to doing this. Do it, because you will regret it if you don't. It's not necessarily going to be a success, but at least you're going to have fun doing it, and that's the most important thing. Don't ever do this. I have people message me that I know, and they'll say something like, this isn't working for me, I need to do something else because I'm not earning enough money doing it this way or whatever else. And their content comes across because they're desperate to earn the money rather than they're doing it because they enjoy the whole format of it, the process, why they forgot why they started. Yeah. Get in there, do what you love, and just keep doing what you love, because I guarantee you, there are other people out there that share your interests. I remember before I wanted to do video game reviews on YouTube, I was toying with the ideas, because I've always been fascinated with video game history, always been fascinated. I knew that was something I wanted to do, but the other thing I wanted to do was theme park history. I was always been fascinated with the history of theme parks, and I thought to myself, no one's ever going to want to watch that. And it took a really long time before that scene just completely blew up on YouTube. That's like a huge thing now, video game history. And although I would never go back and change what I've done, it just goes to show that, in my mind, no one's going to want to watch that. No one's interested in that. It proves that, yes, people out there are interested in that weird niche that you are also interested in. Don't be afraid. Just get out there and do it, because you'll regret it if you don't.
I mean, absolutely. And I think it's something that can be applicable to fairly anything in life. In my
absolutely.
Opinion,
Yeah.
When it comes to work,
Yeah, if you're an artist, like you say, anything.
Yeah.
Get out there and do it.
Yeah. Don't do it for the money. The money. My belief is that things will come into place if you're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It took a few years before maybe a couple of years before I earned 30. Was it a year or 2 years, something like that, before I earned like $30, and then it went up, because that was like the minimum you needed to be able to withdraw from YouTube back when I started. Right. And then eventually it got to a point where I was earning like a bit more than that, and I was like, okay, this is a bit strange. And it was years in, and I started realizing, okay, so if I double the amount of content, is that going to double what, and everything just started to come into place. You do it because you enjoy it. Like you say, everything else will just fall into place at the right time, and then that's when you can start piecing together the bits that you don't do it because you want it to become your job, because that will come across.
Yeah, agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the next and final segment.
Go for it.
Is the rapid fire questions.
Well, I'm bad at
15.
This.
Well, there's no right or wrong answer, and they're really, really silly.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
I'll tell you right from the get-go. I haven't seen them. Our producers, puts them together, and he has a lot of fun creating those questions. I can guarantee it. Mm-hmm. So let's go through them. 15 questions, this or that. No right or wrong answer. Just don't. No. It's good. Answer.
He's always worrying that. Oh dear, did you just say that? No. DJ Slope is cancelled.
Good content, right?
Yeah.
You ready?
Go for it.
All right. String cheese or cheese strings?
Cheese strings.
Blankets or comforters?
Blankets.
Fold toilet paper or scrunch toilet paper?
Folded.
Live in a trash can or live in the sewers?
Trash can.
Adobe Premiere or Final Cut?
I use neither. I use Sony Vegas.
It's always fascinated with that. Like, I feel like Sony Vegas has been like around for so many years.
Yeah, so it's Magic's Vegas now. It's been like that for about.
It's Magic.
Yeah.
Never be able to pick a booger or be able to pick all the boogers, but you have to eat them.
That makes me feel sick. I won't be able to breathe out my nose. I'll go with that. I'm not picking
Live in
them.
New York or live in Toronto?
Never been to either. New York. I've always been fascinated. I want to go there next year for my 40th.
One pillow or two pillows?
Two. One that way, one that way.
Be amazing at basketball or football, soccer?
Basketball. Can't stand soccer.
Would you rather be a singer or a comedian?
Singer?
Delete TikTok or delete Instagram?
Ooh, I'm really into TikTok at the moment. So, Instagram?
Mario or Pokemon?
Mario.
Yeah, I knew this answer from
Yeah.
what you said earlier. Eat salt or eat pepper?
Salt.
Would you rather eat a zombie or get eaten by a zombie?
Eat one. I'd rather eat one.
Kick scammers or the complete history?
Complete history. That's my baby.
There we go.
Yeah,
15 questions answered.
There it
All
is.
of them right.
Mm-hmm. See, it's like, I said that disgusting bogey thing. Like, there's certain things that I can't handle, like spit and bogeys and things like that just make me feel disgusting. Like, it makes me... But I'll eat a zombie any day of the week if I need to. Like, I got no problems there. I'll leave the spitty mouth nosy part. I won't eat that bit, but I'll eat the rest. Yeah, I'm quite a disgusting guy behind closed doors.
There we go, Dan.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being part of the 30th episode of Streamforge Radio. I forgot to mention it at the very start, but it's been 30 episodes.
Anniversary
talk
time.
About, talk about starting something and just going through the process of just getting better and just
Is it growing nicely? Do you think?
Well, I can tell you that when I first started this series, we did a lot of edits to the first few episodes, and nowadays I think we just keep them the way they are. Right? We don't make any cuts. I think it grows quite nicely. We feel very fortunate to have so many amazing creators wanting to participate, and so many amazing audiences that are listening to these episodes, wanting to learn more about you guys, about becoming themselves content creators, and anybody interested in that space. So it's been a lot of fun, and we're going to be celebrating the first year anniversary in October, which I'm really excited about. So it's quite fun. It's been a journey so far, and it's I'm hoping for another 30. Let's
for sure. For sure, there's no reason not to, right?
Exactly. Well, 30 episodes, but let's focus on your content to end this episode. And I'll invite every single one of you guys listening right now to go check out Slope's Game Room, on YouTube, on Twitter, on TikTok. Okay, I gotta check you out on TikTok. I love the platform as well. I'm really
it's one of those things, especially with my demographic, which is 30 years and up, I suppose, that really don't like the idea of TikTok. But for me, same as the Kick Scammer series, I just find it refreshing to go from a video that's 2 hours long to doing a video that has to be a minute and try and absorb. And it's quite nice. It keeps the creative juices flowing.
Absolutely, I think it's one of the most. It's one of the best platforms to really express your creativity. It's really something that you can also like create videos on the go. It doesn't require necessarily a lot of like production. Or it's just.
I keep the same mindset of how I do YouTube. They're still fully edited videos on my TikTok. That's just how I do them. I don't know if I've 100% understood what TikTok is about, but I'm going with it the way I'm continuing the way I started anyway.
Well, it's the same. It's the same thing. You do it, and then you'll learn from it, and then you'll get you'll understand like your target audience there as well, which is probably going to be different than what's on YouTube.
Oh,
in
it's
a certain
insanity.
way, you know?
So on my second channel, I have, I don't even remember how many, close to say 10,000 subscribers, 8, 9, 10,000, something to that effect. If I put the same content out, so if I make a short on the second channel and then, a typical TikTok video, the same video, if I upload both the same video, I'll get, say 300 views on the second channel, but well over 1,000 on TikTok, even though on TikTok I've got less than 1,000 people following me.
That's pretty nuts.
It's actually quite bonkers. It shows YouTube's trying to play catch up with TikTok in that field, at least in that
as
field.
They should, they should. It's it's absolutely.
It's pulling in more views than Google. Sorry, we're going off on one now. I'm giving TikTok tips to end this.
No, well, maybe it's some content for another video, because I'm really excited about the platform as well.
Yeah.
Bottom line is, guys, go check out Slopes Game Room
Thank
on
you so
YouTube,
much.
TikTok, and Twitter.
Yeah, please do. Thank you guys.
Thank you for being here again. It was a real pleasure to have you.
You too.
And guys, at home, on the road, listening to this podcast, let us know who you want us to interview next. And also, don't forget to give us any positive feedback. Any feedback at all is always appreciated. 5-star reviews. Let us know what you think about what we're doing. We always love to hear your thoughts and your feedback. Thank you for listening. And we're back every Tuesday for the whole year. Every Tuesday. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast. We'll see you guys next week with another Streamforge Radio episode. Thanks for listening.
Sounds good. Cheers, guys.